Okay, so basically, Libya is a socialist government, and in 1973, it created the the Gulf of Sidra incident. Um, what happened is it regarded the Gulf of Sidra as part of their territorial waters. So, it claimed the Gulf of Sidra, which spans into the Mediterranean, obviously. And um, that kind of makes sense. It's like a little gap in the Mediterranean. So why would U.S. jets start flying there? We don't know, but they did. And the Gulf of Sidra incident, as everyone knows, in 1980, prompted the U.S. to fire back after Libyan jets uh, fired at, you know, their occupying invaders. Now, the international community, for whatever reason, did not regard the Gulf of Sidra as a part of Libya, which kind of doesn't make sense because every country has its territorial waters. Um, and this prompted to an escalation to the Libyan civil war. Libyan jet fighters, two Su-22s, were downed. So then, years later, this would make sense as to why Gaddafi would fund terrorist groups in the West, like the Black Panthers, the Red Legion, or something in Germany, and the IRA. It kind of would, like, these were low key groups. I would think like they would be funded, not through a Muslim country. So I can't reinsert that information as being accurate. Um, uh, Basically, they regarded the international community, its laws, through the Freedom of Navigation Act, as an error. And Libya is a socialist government, which means fairly communist, or with a dictator or whatever. So, as everyone knows, communism usually creates federalization, federalism. It's like it creates a democracy. It's like a fast-moving government that works internally as opposed to externally. So what happened is, things escalate, and maybe Gaddafi takes it too far and downs an airliner. Um, uh, so what happens is, with an accurate timeline, Libya Libya's assets are frozen because of supposed uh, funding of terrorist groups from across the globe. So, uh, you know, they freeze Gaddafi's assets, whatever. Um, in retaliation, Gaddafi kills a few uh, uh, Americans, some terrorist acts occur. And then uh, it escalates drastically where the American government bombs Libya and kills his family. Let's look that up. I don't know how to spell Libya, sorry. And this happened in 1986. So they've killed about 30 civilians and uh, 50 soldiers and a bunch of their aircraft. So it went overboard due to you know uh, due to their funding of terrorist groups. Um, if you call the communist era as terrorism, uh, these would be terrorist groups. And Libya still regarded the Gulf of Sidra as their own. Which kind of makes sense, because it's off their coast and it's in that little bay area. Uh, so, what instigated the bombing of Libya was, in fact, an incident in 1986 where a nightclub was bombed, killing some U.S. servicemen and injuring a bunch of civilians. So, in retaliation, they bombed Libya in 1986 and killed his family, apparently. So this, as you know, would drastically instigate a retaliatory response by a foreign government. So Libya bombs the airliner. There you go. But that's not 30 civilians killed, that's 200. So maybe it's a little overboard. He definitely did that. So, soon later, in 2011, much later, Libya finds themselves stuck in a civil war. So, the Libyan civil war was to oust Ghaddafi, basically. And it was started it was backed up by NATO, obviously. So a bunch of countries occupied Libya, basically. They just decided to throw Gaddafi out for whatever reason in 2011. And when they did that, basically, they had to, other countries had to take over the government. A puppet government had to be in place. The Libyan civil war was actually caused directly by the Libyan revolution, which was just like a way for Muammar Gaddafi to get rid of foreign groups. Like, basically, there were protests in the country. that's naturally what a government would try to do. So now we know why the Libyan civil war, was created. But unfortunately, who took over the uh, Libyan government was um, Russia and Syria. So they took the opportunity of using Gaddafi's socialist government and forming it naturally into a federalized government. So then the U.S. did a wrong chess move on the board. They wanted Assad out. So they're like, now Syria controls the Libyan government, and now we want Assad out. So they tried to create protests within the country of Syria, and that was the wrong move. And that's the situation we are in today. Uh, it's a situation of bullying that escalated to a degree of two governments on Earth going up against each other. And that might be why that could be why Turkey is occupying Libya and Tripoli. That could be the reason.